Thank you for checking in on the OMA podcast and Videocast. Great ideas, best practices shared by the OMA team members and partners. Hope you enjoy. Amy and Michael, thank you so much for taking time to share your infinite wisdom with the team. We are so glad to have both of you to talk about a very, very exciting item that everyone is super excited about, and that's CRM. And I think everyone knows that we're just kidding. CRM might seem like the ultimate snooze fest, but I'll tell you what, if any company is doing it right, Move Solutions is absolutely doing it right. And we're going to talk about reasons why CRM is not really worth snoozing on. So we're going to go in, guys. We only have 3 quick questions. So we're going to try to cover them sort of in a rapid fire manner, but we've got Amy and Michael both to answer them. And the first question, right away, guys, I'm going to go right into it, is really, why should a company use CRM, and how is it specifically helping your day-to-day at the company?
Well, given that I'm the architect of our CRM and have been for the last 34 years, the very first thing that we purchased was a relational database on day number 1. I would tell you that a CRM allows you to monetize everything. It allows you to pick what you're going to manage and then manage what's important to you. And as we all know, what we don't manage manages us. And so we've woven not so much a CRM philosophy, but customer relationship management. It's more of an end-to-end and end-to-back, so that we're grabbing on the first end of this, we're grabbing onto opportunities in our community where we're prospecting, where we're working with a referral community, and we take a name on a building and turn it into a prospect, and boom, it's in our end-to-end digital footprint. And then it turns from there into a prospect, from there into a proposal into projects on a work order basis, parent-child, all the way to an invoice, and then track that invoice back in terms of receivables. And so 100% of that takes place with all parties in the firm connected to it. It's much simpler than it sounds. Right, Amy?
Michael, so how is that? I'm sorry, Amy, I'm gonna dig in deeper with Michael. It's simpler than it sounds. That sounds so much easier to say than to do. So tell us a little bit more, like, why is that simple to you?
Well, it's simple to me because I'm the CEO and I'm the founder, and I'm the voice that doesn't allow anything but the use of the it's not a CRM for us. That's customer relationship management. It's the front end of a real process. We call ours brass tacks, and the functionality inside of brass tacks is end to end. And so why is it simple to me? Well, I invented it. Number 2, we constantly massage it for simplicity. We're regularly going through our own existing software, looking for how do we make it better? How do we make it simpler? And that is a team-wide exercise. So there's a great big CRM company that starts with S. They present it like Savior, that is burdened by excessive detail in every possible way. And so you don't get the simplicity of what does the client want? How do we serve that? How do we build that timely and accurately? And how do we be ready to work for them again? It's that kind of simplicity.
I love it. Amy, how's it really impacting the day-to-day?
Well, I'm going to stick with the simple side because I can remember being a salesperson, not really knowing what I was doing, and driving down the highway, looking at for lease signs of lights that were on in buildings in the middle of the night, and picking up the phone and calling my new business development person and saying, hey, who's in this building or who moved out of this building at address XYZ? And she could literally punch it in and put in there, hey, we moved so-and-so out of there a month ago. This is the facilities manager, and this is the project manager, and this is the property manager. And from that, I got so much information in a quick piece of time that I was then, boom, text me that person's number, I'm gonna make a phone call. And from then on, it just became more and more business building where I didn't have to go research it and find it in my Excel spreadsheet and who, connect the dots between, Larry over here at JLL, or he's at CBRE, or he's at, by himself. I could literally pick up the phone and somebody could look in the system and to give me that information very quickly. On the flip side of the simplicity, I can look at my salesperson's leads. I can see who's working it. I can see, who needs help, who doesn't have enough activity. Oh, I know a connection into that company they're looking into, doing moves for. Let me see if I can connect the dots. And so the simple part of that has made management a lot easier because I have visibility. But the sales side of it made it so much quicker because I don't have to do as much digging on a daily basis, right?
I like that. Hey, can I ask, Michael? I like it from, as a sales guy, I love it from a prospecting and client engagement piece. Now, how does it help y'all once the project starts? And then are you guys even using it on the backside for the billing piece of it? Like, how does it help you there, guys?
Let me take that for a second.
Go ahead.
So we win the job, right? Or we get introduced and we win the contract for a relationship. And so there's a profile that gets put in place as a result of that effort. And that profile may be a one-up, or one work order turns into one invoice, or maybe one project turns into 18 work orders turns into one invoice, or a relationship where we'll do 500 projects over the course of a year, all stemming from a single profile that tells us everything that client wants us to know every time we engage with them, instead of having to repeat it to us over and over and over and over, and the stumbling that comes from that. This is where this kind of a software piece just becomes golden, a river of gold that flows through your company. Is that when you create that work order, you're creating the work order in the software, what we call brass tacks. It automatically goes to dispatch. Now, that sounds magical. If you take the time to stick your head into it, it's not magical, it's simplistic. Then that shows up in dispatch. They put the right resources in the right place at the right time for the right reason. It comes back, again, goes back into data. And all of a sudden, Amy, as general manager of our largest city, she's getting immediately transparent, real-time data that says, what's 24-hour lagging labor utilization? What's 24-hour lagging vehicle utilization? We finished, 2 years ago, we moved the entirety of Toyota North America to Texas as a single provider, 92 locations, not one single issue. We knew everything about that project every day, and our client knew everything about that project every day, because there's an entire interface to the client who, if we know it, they know it real time anywhere on the planet. What do we mean when we talk about labor utilization? That means that we know where we are relative to overtime versus the proposal. We know where we are in the proposal relative, is it a fixed firm bid? Is it a not to exceed? Is it an estimate? These are all important when you're getting levels of assuredness put in place. We know, back to the Toyota example, this piece of software at dispatch says, here are the 20 people that have last worked at that customer anywhere over the previous 6 weeks. So we're maximizing our opportunity to put people in front of people that they know already. That's a huge binding clasp with relationships. And then all of that collapses down in 2 pieces of data. One goes to, how do you pay this diverse workforce? Is it accurate to the hour, to the day, in every way? They're comp plan calls. The other is the same thing, is when we use this data to pay our workforce, indirectly we use this data to pay ourselves, because it's got to accurately fold into a timely invoice that gets presented for payment, which comes back around to make our own payrolls. One of the things our industry fails at is timely and accurately invoicing its product. If you can timely and accurately invoice your product because of a system like this, it allows people to approve your invoice while they still remember what you did for them.
That's key. Thank you, Michael. Amy?
What was the question again?
Well, you know what? I actually find this very fascinating. I hope everyone that's actually listening, if you're still awake, I hope that you find this very interesting, because it's absolutely spot on. What I take away from that, Michael, is really is your ability to just always know where you are in the sales process, where you are in the project process, and then where we are in the billing process. I mean, those those are phenomenal things. So if we could really sort of take it down, am I hitting it right, Michael? I mean, isn't that one of the key
it
benefits
takes the
y'all are getting?
process. It takes the process of office moving, which is, office moving is a work all day to get the privilege of work all night still. It's an invisible industry, is that you don't see it taking place. But in the middle of that, if you don't have a flexible yet rigidly adherent process set throughout your organization, then it's a constant troubled result. What the clear use of a piece of software like this does, endemic to everybody in the organization. I don't want to go too far in saying it turns office moving into paint by numbers, but it's not far from it. It allows you to focus your emotional share and your talent. Problems sink to their lowest level. Talent rises to its highest level. It allows you to take your talent onto a stage set by process and maximize your talent. Whether you be a salesperson or a project manager or a general manager, you're not spending your time fussing. You're spending your time serving. Last comment on that is we view business as two things. We recognize that we're beggars and servants. If we beg well enough, we get to serve. Our software allows us to serve in the manner the client expects. If we do that well enough, we don't have to beg as much the second time. Is that true, Amy?
That's really true. One of the things I think our salespeople take for granted is the fact that we have this, right? We have other people that have come from different moving companies that don't have a process, and they're fascinated by the fact that it is so process driven. You can't pass go and collect $200 until you do all of the things to get to Park Place, right? And it takes a lot of that emotional worry of where am I going to be next month? You can see it. You can look exactly where you're going to be next month. You're going to go, oh, I probably need to knock out a couple more things. Let me print my leads list. Let me go down the prospecting list. Let me print that out, take it with me. I will, or I can sit here in front of the computer and call off of it. It makes it quicker and easier for a salesperson to do those things that took a lot more time. As a manager, like he said, I can see anything from any point in time as it goes through the system. It gives me click, 4 clicks, and I'm into everything I could want to know of a company we've done business with for the last 10, 15 years. That's probably the best part that I have as far as the process part of it. I don't have to second guess. It's literally right there in front of me.
Well, here's your chance, because I'm a huge fan. Thank you for your insight, both of you guys. But let's go. So let's say it's somebody who, two things, right? Maybe they don't currently have a CRM or any sort of a workflow process that's actually written out or implemented that has a maybe even a digital backbone to it. What would you do if y'all were giving advice to a company? Like, what would they want to do? Where would they start as far as wanting to implement a system, guys? Where would you start?
Well, when I get that question, I usually go to something everybody understands with commonality is what came first, the chicken or the egg? All right. So an answer to your question is what came first, and the chicken and the egg is that how about you design the chicken to produce eggs? Now we know what came first. Deliberately, the chicken came first. And if you do a great job with the chicken, then you do a great job with a never-ending succession of eggs. Now that's a weird description, I get that, but the point is you've got to start with some intention. It doesn't matter where along the history of your country you make this decision, because the truth is tomorrow is going to happen anyway. Do it or don't do it. 2 years from now is going to be 2 years from now in any event. So put the investment in place. That investment is in time. It's in resource, whatever resource fits your firm at its size, and start designing the result that your firm, whether you be a family-owned business, you be an individual proprietorship, we all want different things. Design your mechanism to produce that thing. And so, in answer to your question, I'm trying to answer your question, is first of all, get started. The rest doesn't matter until you get started. And then reach out, look to your friends in your industry. Who is using something like this? Place a phone call to them and say, hey, friend, talk to me about how you guys got started in this, what you did to get it going, what you think it does for you in results. And by the way, could I come down for a couple of days and maybe just sit and participate with your team and get a sense of this real time? And then take that, maybe a couple of those, and do the work to find out who produces the tools to produce the result that you want. It's no magical thing, and there's no shortcut to it. It's not that hard. This is not rocket scientists. It's about a 4-function computer. It's to grab data and produce a faster result that you use then to use this.
All right.
Now look, it helps this.
Michael, I like it from a philosophical standpoint, but Amy, I want you to walk me through. I'm a company. I've got 4 salespeople on my team. I get the philosophical piece of it. What do we do? Do we get our key people together and whiteboard it? Are we going to that? Like, is that where do we start? Because I got to get something. I want people to really understand, hey, this is the first step. Here's the second. If we can give them the first few steps, guys, they're going to walk away with a really good nugget. So Amy, could you walk me through, like, if you're really starting, if say you went into a company as a consultant, they had 5, 6, 8 people, what's your first step with them?
Well, funny, because I was one of the first people that started this whole thing for us. So I got to be the beta tester. I'm going to say start with where you're putting all the data first, right? Everybody sits down. There's 4 or 5 of you. Who's entering what information into what system? Whether that's an Excel document, whether you've done something online, whether you've written it down on a sheet of paper, put all of that information together. Sit down, everybody has that information, culminate it into one particular thing, whether that's it all gets dumped into something that gets imported into a canned CRM or something of that nature. You have to pull the data first, right? Because if you don't put the data somewhere, it goes nowhere. And then I'm a rip off the Band-Aid mentality. If you can't pull it all in and say, look, here's what you've got to do moving forward, they won't start. I'm a salesperson. I know what it's like to buck the system. It's 100% what I like to do. It's so much easier to sit there and say, oh, it's right there. Fine. It's one less thing I've got to deal with. And that's the thing is we sat down and we pulled all of that information together. We data dumped it into that, and then magic happened. Oh, I'm looking for this client, type it in, and boom, all my information's there. How did that happen? Literally made it less of a thought to have to worry about. It was, yeah, why wouldn't I use that? It's so much simpler. Salespeople are, how do I get to yes very quickly? We just minimized how long it took them to get there. That was, I won't say it is the way we necessarily did it, but it was the way we did it. There was a lot that took place behind the scenes as far as management involvement and I'll say key salespeople factors that came into how would you like to see this information? We picked and choose what we want for the information to put in there. Do we want to collect data on addresses? You know, do you want to say, do they have a doc? Who's the property manager? That kind of thing. Or is that important to us? And organize the information you need, put all the information together collectively, and then insert it into whatever you're looking for as far as what you're going to classify as a CRM. That then becomes the Bible. I mean, you've got to be able to change it as things flex, but that becomes the Bible. And the historical data can't go away. It can't be something that someone else can change, right? Because I can look back to something that another salesperson did and hand it off to a different salesperson and say, this is the relationship that that person had with that client. And that helps us from city to city and company to company. So I can say, look, in Austin or in San Antonio, this is the person that we worked with. Can they help us get in the door in Dallas? That became wildfire. They just fed off of the fact that all of the information was there. You got to start with pulling it all together. And you've got to make decisions hard, fast, and quick, and just work through massaging the bumps as you come through them. If you think you're going to get it 100% right at the very beginning, it's not going to happen.
All right. Let's not, since we're talking early, anybody that's listening and you're a leader of a company, kind of start about like just sort of like that group think. don't talk about ripping band-aids off in the first 5 minutes. Believe me, the band-aids are going to get ripped off eventually, but maybe that happens once you have the buy-in from the team, right? So that's yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Right. So the implementation part of it is it takes a lot more behind the scenes with management, with the key players that are really going to be utilizing it. But once you're going to truly check the box and say, we're going to do this, and you're going to send it out to the masses, you got to just make the decision.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to go right back to you, Amy, on this very last question. And Michael, we're going to finish up with you. So we've talked about sort of the benefits of the CRM. We talked about, basically on how to implement. Now we're going to do, how do we keep the team engaged? Right. And I'm assuming you guys don't have anything diabolical to keep your team engaged on the CRM. So tell us what we do. What do y'all specifically do? Amy, again, starting with you, what do you do to keep the team engaged with the CRM?
Well, if you don't already know, salespeople are incredibly competitive. They like to win. That's kind of part of what I think we feel is we need you to have that drive, right? We use a lot of analytics, which sounds awful. I don't like that word. It's techie and it's a old school word. We have what's called dashboards. It will literally show you where you're at any moment in time. And that, I think, alone allows me to keep them engaged, right? I can look at a dashboard and go, hey, where do you think you're going to be? Like, can I help you out? As a salesperson, I'm looking at it going, that's not a good month for me. How do I fix that? And I think the reliability of the information is accurate definitely helps drive that. I hate to say that the thing that we stumbled upon in the very beginning of a CRM was the information that gets entered has to be accurate, because if you're chasing a lead and someone else is chasing a lead and that person didn't put their information in, and I did, and I got the appointment. Sorry for you. I got the appointment. I don't care how hard you worked. I'm sorry, but my information is in there. We only had to stumble over that once or twice. And we made it right with all of those people in the beginning. But it is one of those things that there's a lot of individual accountability that management doesn't have to keep their thumb on. Those things have been vital for the continuation of it, right? If it's not in there, it didn't happen.
Okay, I love it. Hey, all right, Michael, what are you doing from your standpoint? What are the best ways to get to keep a team engaged and putting the data into the CRM?
So big acronym here, IAPS. Okay, IAPS. In anything you do that's mechanical, in anything you do that's technical, in anything you do that's software or application driven, you can't lose the heart of the fact that it's about people, stupid. That's the IAPS part. It's about people, stupid. And so when Amy says she doesn't like analytics, I promise you, if you're in my family, you love data.
It is data.
That wasn't a choice offered growing up, okay? And so, but if you adhere to it's about people, stupid, then it's not analytics as much as it is indicators. And it's indicators of who gets it, who wants it, who has it, who does it. And then you've got to put people in front of those people. Amy's a general manager. In our world, we don't believe in sales managers. Our general managers are sales managers, so they don't forget the cold biting wind of the street. We wake up in our leadership team every single day knowing you've got to have business to be in business. So it's about sales, and then it's about quality of service. How do you get people to use it? Well, start with, you have to use it yourself. I mean, to talk with me internally is to talk about and through brass tacks. It's just that simple. What's another thing is, if you won't use it, we can't employ you. It's just that simple. I don't care your talent base. If you won't be part of what sets the stage for your talent to have autonomy, then you simply can't work here. And you have to be prepared to support that. The same thing with the lead registration. If you don't register your prospect and somebody else does, they're going to get it. Now, it's just like raising your kids. That line on the floor, when you establish where the line is, people wonderfully respect that because they realize the very few things that are no choices and they leave them alone. So you've got to use it yourself. You've got to be firm in your management style. That's called leadership, by the way. You've got to be firm in your management style. That's called management. All right. You manage to an object, you lead from the object. And then you also use it to celebrate. For instance, we're doing a thing right now called the superpowers. So our CRM produces people information that allows us to put out one person per day. We're doing this over 200 and some days, where we see what that person's personal superpower is and what their professional superpower is. Comes with a cool graphic. It's done autonomously to internal screens, and it's part of keeping people interested and connective with that CRM. You don't use the CRM as a whipping tool. It's just like your kids. When you attach a negativity to something, it doesn't matter how wholesomely you mean it. It's negative.
Well, I like it.
And,
Thanks.
And then one last thing.
Oh, good.
Okay. It's all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not part-time. We don't just talk to you about it when maybe things aren't going well. It's an all the time. Another acronym we like a lot, ATT, all the time. And then there's an attachment to that we like to talk about called IAST. It's a simple thing. So you keep a mantra of simplicity attached to it so that people don't get lost in it.
Well, I like it. And we're going to button this up because we're going just over our time. But I'll tell you what, if people wanted to have follow-up questions with y'all, Amy, what would be the best way for someone to find you?
Email, LinkedIn, I'm both places. Want me to give you my email address?
Yeah, go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it real quick.
Linton, ALINTON @TOSpartners.com.
That's good. And Michael,
for a good time.
Michael, I think everybody knows how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, but I've got to insert something that you've lost in here. Okay?
Oh, please do. Please do.
All of these things, but you haven't asked me, Michael, what's the single most important reason to do this?
We're going to save that for our next show. No, go ahead, please.
No, you want it right now. So ask me. Come on.
No, go ahead, please. You asked it better than I ever could. Please do.
All right. Come on, guys. We're talking entrepreneurs.
Go ahead.
It's about money.
Yeah.
All right. This is about taking that gaggle of everything you bring to your effort that you're paying everybody and make sure there's a piece at the end of the day for you. And that piece is called margin. It's called profit. It's called return. It's call it whatever you want. This is about efficiency and money. Now, when you've got that straightened out, you enter into this wonderful world of where you understand what you're doing. And every now and again, the brainstorm gets another brainstorm. We implemented an add-on to this software in November. All right, that we tested for 4 months in front of that. So talk about 6 months of implementation. It directly led to our 2020 profit being 60% larger. That's why you do this.
Michael, we are going to leave on that value bomb. You know, I absolutely love your knowledge, and we love squeezing your head and seeing what comes out. And Amy, I'm sure you'd like to squeeze his head too sometimes, but you know what? It's been a real blessing having both of you guys on. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to talk to you again. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye now.